Welcome to Women's $1 Million Conversations with Alice Tang, where we share stories from successful businesswomen who have saved, earned, or sold over $1 million and discuss how they built their success and insights to help you achieve your goals. Now, let's join the conversation.
We're very happy to have Kim Prosser with us today at our Women $1 Million Conversation. So welcome, Kim. Thank you for spending time with us and sharing your insights so that we can empower the next generation of women to get to the level that they haven't dreamed of. Welcome, Kim.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Sure. Kim, would you tell us your company, your industry, how long you have been there? Maybe share a little bit about what your company do.
Sure. My name is Kim Prosser, and I own Precision Garage Door Service in Tigard, Oregon. We are a home improvement based type of company, general contracting. We do focused on residential garage doors, do repairs and replacements and opening systems for garage doors, primarily homeowners.
Excellent. I heard 70% of our population own homes, so your market is huge.
Own a garage, I'm your girl.
Yes. They need garage door and the real door so that nobody walk in and out freely.
Nobody uses the front door anymore now. Yeah. We've been in business for over 19 years.
Oh, great. Awesome. Thank you once again. Now, we are focusing on talking about revenue. So could you just think about how long does it take for your company to get to your first $1 million of revenue?
That took probably the first 3 years or so to get there in the business. And then we plateaued for many years at a midpoint. And it wasn't until the last 3 or 4 years that we broke over some of the barriers that we had and have grown about 20% a year.
Wow, a 20% growth is way more than the Standard & Poor index would return on average, including the ups and downs. That's why we want to do business. So thank you for serving our community. So I'm going to take you back to the time when you just hit your $1 million of revenue. How does it make you feel? Tell us about your emotion. Tell us about your feeling.
Honestly, I don't think it wasn't really a mark that I recognized. I guess I'm always looking for the next level and don't really sit down and pat myself on the back for the level that's achieved. And I've been in businesses before that with more revenue than that. So honestly, it wasn't a big deal.
Oh, okay. We're in business before. You've touched that $1 million before already. So it's not something that is super new, super exciting, but it's great to get to that landmark so that you can reframe what's possible, continue to do what you do. And now you have 20% growth annually. Very good. So would you mind sharing the bias that you have felt and overcome or have not overcome still on your road to success?
For me, I think the thing I've experienced most is the gender bias. Starting early on, raised in the 60s and 70s, at least in my world, they're kind of raised with the notion that if you really want financial security, you need to marry well. And I think that was a philosophy that my mother was raised in, and it got passed on to us in the 60s and 70s even. I remember in the 70s in high school and talking about women's liberation, burning bras, all these things. And there was always this pat on the head. It's like, well, I believe in women's rights, but you're not one of those women's libbers, are you? And there's just that male bias that you grow up with, and you don't really realize how it has just invaded your thought process on what you think is possible. This growing up with the only way to really be secure is to marry well. It's just not true. And we were raised with it. We were raised in that environment and philosophy, and it was wrong. Even to this day, women don't have equal rights. And hopefully young women now, with what's happened in the last few weeks, are realizing that if it's not in the Constitution, you don't have it. And I think that we have got to do something very strong in this country to give women equal protection, equal footing, because we do not have it. It can be torn away. We're protected by basically a patchwork quilt of local and state and federal laws. And those, as we have now seen, can be torn away at any moment. And I don't think women will be able to overcome the male bias until we actually fight and make it so.
Yeah, we all have our previous generation somewhat pave the path for us so that our path is a little flatter, a little smoother. I think we owe it to our next generation to do the same for them. So thank you for sharing your thoughts. All right. The next question is about your number one piece of advice that you will give to another woman who aspires to be a Kim. So what will you say to them?
I have two bottom lines. One is I never take no. No is just a temporary roadblock and you figure out a way around it. And two, you never quit. It's not even in the lexicon. It's not a possibility. When things are bad or tough economic times, you just figure out, you do what you got to do to stay alive and to make it work. And don't depend on anyone else. Depend on yourself. You have what it takes.
Very good. I think independence in terms of I can make it by myself is important. I'm also married like you, and marriage is just like any other relationship. You have some challenging time or rough time. You have some very good time. So in the rough time, I think one of the things that I learned from my mom is you always want to have your blue sky. So yes, it's rough. Yes, you probably prefer to have a relationship. However, if you're pushed to a corner that you got to choose between certain important things to you, whatever those are, and your relationship, you know that you're resilient because you can. So long-winded about me is about Kim in this interview.
I agree with you. I agree with your mother.
Yes. How do you process a piece of very big decision, like when the stakes are very high? Do you have a process? Or do you go with your gut feeling? Do you walk in the woods or take a shower just like one of our guests?
I think that I take a lot in. I'm a big study and observer of things. And so a lot of the way I take in information is just listening in a room to whether it's my team of ideas or whatever. And so one is listening and taking in as much information, or if it's something you're not familiar with, go educate yourself really quickly and take it all in and then process it and then go with your gut. I've learned over time, it's my best judgment and best feeling. If it really doesn't feel good, even if everybody else is saying to do it, I won't do it. And I can make a decision pretty quickly based on as much information as I can gather. But I think that once you make the decision, go. If you made the wrong decision downstream and you need to fix it, so what? I think it's more important to take as much information, make the best decision you can at the time, but you can't beat yourself up if something changes. I think people get paralyzed trying to make a decision because it has to be perfect, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Do the best with what you have at the moment of the time and you go.
That's right, especially in business, because sometimes a decision made too late is not a good decision. Even it would have been a good decision, like how many days ago, how many months ago. So I really love your approach. You collect as much information as possible. Think about this, analyze it, and then make sure the gut feeling is sitting right, and then move. And do not worry so much about a good decision or bad decision. We'll find out. That's why we have something called fine-tuning. Fine-tuning, right? Who said you can't be wrong? Nobody's perfect, and no decision is perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. And of course, 19 years in your current business and you own your previous business before, there are times when business or life becomes so tough that we want to quit. What keeps you going?
I don't know what keeps me going. I've been through many recessions, and this almost didn't make it in the present business we have. I don't know what it is. I don't have any magic thing. It's just, like I said to begin with, that quitting is not an option. It's just not in my world. So you just keep figuring out how to make it work or fix it or change it or do something different. I do know that if you keep doing the same thing and it's not working and you are afraid to make a change or say you're wrong or whatever it is, you will fail. But if you recognize the situation and make a new strategy and go, you'll get through it. But quitting isn't really an option.
Quitting is not an option. I love it. I love it. Just use another direction to approach the same problem if it didn't work, and don't keep being stuck.
Yes.
At the same place using the same method. Of course, you wouldn't make it work because it didn't work for the few times already.
Yeah.
What is one thing you would do differently, or is there any, knowing what you know now, 19 years ago?
I think that if anything, I tend to let either maybe a person not performing well, or circumstances or situations get in the way sometimes, and I let things go too long. I've definitely learned with a good high performing team that even though there may be someone who's not performing well and you want to give them every benefit of the doubt and try hard to turn things around, at some point you cross a line where you're now impacting the rest of your team. And so I've learned to listen to the team, and if you've got to make a painful choice or let someone go or change something, behavior that's not working for the rest of the team, you got to do it, because you really have to focus on your stars and not impair them by hanging on to someone who's not performing.
Yes,
As painful as that is.
Yeah, make that decision, copying what you just said. Make that decision. Listen to the people who are trustworthy around you, because you wouldn't have your team around you if none of those people aligned with your values and can run together with you. So if one of them is not performing, of course, we talk about it, but if it doesn't change the situation, when it becomes an impact to the team, being a great decision maker, you make a decision very fast. Just now you said you're going to take care of it. And perhaps that staff or team member would thank us too, because it's truly everybody tends to do better. But if they can't, hopefully it's a mismatch. Awesome. I have 2 more questions, so I'm coming.
Okay.
Because this is a woman's $1 million conversation. I want to know, what's the value of money for you? So some people say, okay, it's really for providing for my family. Some people say it's really financial security or financial independence, or I'm fearful of not having. So there's many of them. So what is the money value for Kim?
That's a complicated question, but I think that the money is a means to an end. It is, for me, it's probably independence and security are what it represents, to be able to be self-reliant and to be fairly independent and go your own path. I think it's probably what it represents to me.
Thank you, Kim. Last question. What is the best advice or the worst advice that had huge impact in your life? Would you share one or both?
I think it's probably this quote, which is sitting right on my wall here on my desk, by Winston Churchill, and I'm sure everybody's heard it, but success is not final, failure is not fatal, it's the courage to continue that counts.
Wow.
That's just really speaks a lot to me, and I believe it.
I believe it too. Success is not final. Failure is not fail. It's the courage to pick it up from there and continue.
And continue. Yeah.
Awesome. Today, I want to thank Kim a lot for granting us a 10-15 minutes time to just learn a little bit about her mindset and how she became who she is. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you. Good conversation. Thanks.